Hello, pranksters. Christian, the Haver Card Man, coming back at you with another deck profile today. And this time around, we are looking at my Adamantium deck profile. This is not your normal standard Adamantium profile. This is Adamantium meets Megalith, and I had a really fun time building this. And I got to give a lot of credit to Dank Chaos for helping me out with ratios and just overall deck theory. That man is a genius when it comes to crafting decks, and he did so much in terms of helping me out for this deck. Basically, I just came up with the idea and like a base profile to go off of, and then he did a lot of the fine-tuning and really helped me get this deck to where it is now, and then I added some more stuff and just kind of added all these fun texts to it. So it's going to be a really interesting, different take on the Adamantium build, and you're going to see a lot of cards in here that most people don't play for their Adamantium decks. And I think it's really interesting. It's obviously not like the tier 1 version of it, the super heavy rock combo variant, but it is still really good at comboing off, and I think it could be potentially tier 2 or at the very least rogue. It's definitely a very solid rogue deck, if nothing else. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start diving into it. But I guess before we do start, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below so you guys can get more content like this, as well as deck reviews, meta-analysis, and hopefully some other content to come in the future here. I'm working on some more ideas. So, and of course, also be sure to go check out my podcast and all the other links down in the description. I've got a whole bunch of other stuff there, like the other channels I'm involved in and the other creators that I'm involved with. So please go check them all out. Go show them all some love. They're all wonderful creators. You definitely should go check them all out. So let's go ahead and get into today's build. So starting off with the main monsters, we have 3 of the Adamantium Researcher, obviously just kind of like a necessity for really any rock deck right now, just because it's just, you just need to control a rock and field, you can special summon it, and then excavate top 5 to find another rock, which is really handy. For the rest of our Adamantium Tuner package, we are running 2 Seeker and 2 Analyzer. It has the same excavating effect as Researcher, just they have different summoning methods, and they're easy enough to search out that you really only need 2 of each. I really had some trouble finding a lot of deck space in here, but I was able to make it work. So I think this ratio is pretty good. As long as you open up with one of them in your opening hand and you can at least use them to normal summon and excavate, you can combo off from there. So really, that's a pretty good start, because you also have another 2 starters right here and 2 copies of Doki Doki. If you open this plus a level 4 Earth or a level 2 Earth rock monster, you can normal summon him to pitch that one from your hand and special summon the Adamantium according to that you need from your deck to be able to get some excavations going and just pop off the combos from there. So Doki Doki, really good starter. One of your best targets to hit off of your excavations is, of course, the Ikwaki Marrow Guardian, which we are running at 3, because if you get him on the field, he contributes himself to negate monster effects, so you can help yourself or help protect yourself from hand traps like Ash, Effect Veiler, Nibiru, all the really big stuff. Of course, it doesn't protect from Imperm, but that's totally fine, because he's also there for Synchro and Link plays, so you can use him for whatever. If you don't get hit by the Nibiru, you know, it's just there. So coming up now onto the first of my techs that I actually really enjoy for this deck, that you guys will see how it works later. And if you guys want a comment tutorial / test hands for this video, be sure to hit that like button down below so I know that you guys like this and you want to see a comment tutorial of this, and of course let me know in the comments as well. But we are playing the Earth Hex Sealed Fusion. I know this is like a throwback to like 2008 Yu-Gi-Oh! There is a very good reason for playing him, and I will get into that later, because we do actually have a viable fusion target for this guy that's really easy to bring out in this deck, surprisingly enough, and I think it's going to be a hilarious tech in general. Alright, so now into our one-ofs. We are running the crystals. We have 1 of each, so we have the Dragite, arguably the best one. So when it's summoned or special summoned by an Adamantium, you get a draw card. Then you have your Leonite and Raptite. When they're special summoned by an Adamantium, you can reset an Adamantium from your hand or graveyard to the top of your deck. I think top or bottom. I think you get a choice on that one. But then, of course, each respectively when they're in the graveyard and you have their matching attribute Synchro Monster on the field, you can use those to shuffle back into the extra deck and put this guy back into your deck. So super handy. And then for our 1 of rock targets, we have, or our other ones, we have Gate Blocker, which is actually hilarious. This is a good way to get around hand traps, because if you end up excavating this guy and special summoning him, let me read the effect here. So, negate the effects of your opponent's field spells, so that's just a hilarious effect on its own. Your opponent cannot place counters on cards on the field, so Savage counter. Your opponent cannot target other monsters you control with card effects. So basically, as long as you have this guy, your opponent can't hit you with a Nibiru, or not a Nibiru. He can't hit you with like an Imperm, an Effect Veiler. I don't think Ash Blossom targets, but I mean, just any of the targeting cards that are in their hand. Like if they have Forbidden Droplets, can't use it because I think it targets. I have to look at that one. Don't quote me on that. Forbidden Droplets might not target, but it's still just a hilarious tech. And once again, you can link it off or use it for synchros. But it's hilarious if you keep it on the field and you're against a Mystic Mine player, because now they can't use Mystic Mine. It's one of the funniest things ever. And then lastly here for rock targets, we have a Quakimeru Supplier, just another means to get into our Quakimeru Guardian to help us like with later game stuff, because just I think it's when he goes to it's when he's special summoned, you can add a Quakimeru card from your deck to your hand. You can add your Quakimeru Guardian to your hand, and you can have that for like the next turn or whatever, normal summon, and have a negate to open up your combo. So that's it for main deck monsters. Let's go ahead and move on to the rituals now. So all of our Megalith cards, we are running 3 Megalith Aratron because it is a quick effect discard to ritual summon. And I'm going to go through all of our big guys first. We got 2 Aratron, 2 Bithor, and 2 Phaleg. I know that might seem like weird ratios, but I really want to open up with one of the big guys because that's how you get started with your ritual combos. And you can search your little guys easy enough with Preparation of Rites, but these guys are level 8, so you can't search them with prep. So I prefer to run more of these guys and less of the small ones, because these guys just are super handy. So next up, we are running 2 Ophiel, just allows you to search for another Megalith monster when he's ritual summoned, and then can ritual summon using himself and other monsters on the field or hand while he's on the field. And then, of course, 2 Megalith Full just came out recently. Actually, a perfect card for this deck. I really love going into this guy, and he is involved in a lot of our combos, and we usually keep him on the field for a couple of turns because he's just really good at providing disruption, and I actually love Full so much. Next up, we have 1 Megalith Haggith. Allows us to search our Megalith Unformed, because that's the only Megalith spell or trap we're running here, but it's really all we need. We run it at 2 copies because there are turns where we end up using both of them, so gotta love having the Haggith. And then 1 Megalith Och just allows you to draw 1 card and discard 1 card, so you can kind of fix your hand. And then he's a quick effect on field, so it's like Aratron, but an on field ritual summon. So actually kind of pretty much just as handy, but he's easier to search than Aratron, so I'd rather use him or have him only at 1. And for the last of our rituals here, we are actually running our 2 copies of Called by the Grave. I'm just kidding. It's not actually Called by the Grave, but it does help protect our combos. And that is Sarvis. I can't remember the rest of his name, but basically, if your opponent targets one of your monsters with a card effect, you can discard him to negate the effect. And if you somehow manage to get him on field, which in this deck is not possible, you can negate a special summon and bounce him back to hand. So, I mean, it's good at 2 because you can open 1 and you can also search 1 off of prep if you have everything else that you need already. So I like having him at 2. A lot of people only run him at 1, and that's only when they run the Herald package. So that way when Herald gets its negate, they can back up their board with another protection negate. So I like having him at 2, though. I just like him as a play protector. It's actually really funny. So that's it for the main deck monsters. Let's move on to the spells now. We're not running any traps. So right off the bat, we're running 3 Adamancipator Signs, like the best extender I have in this deck because we use the excavation effect so much, and this allows us to recycle our tuners a lot. Because you can just, if you special summon an Adamancipator monster from the graveyard to this, because you can just special summon any rock monster, so any extender you need, you can just special summon it out with this guy. But if it's an Adamancipator monster, you get to stack the top card of your deck with a 1 level 4 lower rock monster. So if there's a specific excavate you need to see, which is actually usually going to be the Earth Hexsteel Fusion if we haven't already excavated it, we'll use that to stack the deck and get our excavate to special summon it out. So next up, we also have 3 copies of Preparation of Rites. Once again, just allows you to add your level 7 or lower ritual monsters from deck to hand. Obviously, you don't play any ritual spells, so it doesn't matter. It's just to search that level 7 or lower ritual, which really helps the deck stay consistent. And next up, we have 2 Megalith Unformed, like I talked about. I was running it at 1, but I found that I drew into it a lot, but I still wanted to special summon the Haggith. And if I'd already used the Unformed and I special summoned the Haggith and I didn't have a target to draw, then that was kind of like where my Megalith combo ended. So I threw in the second one, and it's actually been really good because for some reason, I've been really consistent in opening up one in my hand and then still being able to pull out the second one from the deck with Haggith. And the last 2 cards of the main deck here are cards that I doubt anyone's going to agree with, but I really love playing them. They're really good, like, end of combo like when you're done setting up most of your board, it's a really good extender, or at least good to set you up for plays for next turn. And that is 2 copies of Adamancipator Friends, because we do get so many rocks on the board at one time. And thanks to the Megalith combo, once we finish like our Adamancipator stuff, we get like our whole Link board built up and whatnot. If we're still missing like a piece or two for our Megalith combo, we can just use Adamancipator Friends and be able to excavate for a potential card that we might need. And it's super easy to get a ton of excavations off of this card. And I love everything about Adamancipator Friends, so please don't knock it until you try it, especially if you're playing a build like this. If you're playing like the normal meta version, I understand it. If you're trying to go for like tier 1, highly competitive, I totally get it, but I love Adamancipator Friends in this build particularly. So that rounds off the main deck. Let's go ahead and check out the extra deck here. So we're going to start off with the Synchros. Of course, we got one of each of your Adamancipator Risen boys. So we got the Raptite, the Leonite, and the Dragite. All really good. I think personally, I gotta say Raptite's the best just because it has the same effect as the other ones, except it can special summon any rock monster that you excavate. So if you excavate one of your Adamancipator tuners, you can special summon it with this, whereas with the tuners, you can only do non-tuner monsters. So I really like having this guy. This is usually the first one I go into. Leonite's also really good because it can just add any Adamancipator card to your hand. So if you excavate an Adamancipator Signs or Friends, you can also add that as well as any of your tuners or just your normal crystals. So I really do enjoy Leonite. And Dragite, you just excavate to bounce. You don't get to like add anything or special summon anything. You just excavate it, and up to the number of rock monsters you excavated, you can bounce that many on your opponent's field. So really good going second to be able to help clear an opponent's board. Same thing with Bathor. He really just helps bounce field. So it's really easy to just clear your opponent's board and like not even send any of it to graveyard. So if you're playing Orcust, it's a hilarious matchup, I'm not gonna lie. For more of the Synchros here, we do run the Borreload Savage. Super awesome. Of course, just an extra Omni Negate that can get really big really quick. I was originally running him with the Dragon Buster combo, but you really don't need the Buster Dragon as long as you can slap this guy down. Like if you get a couple of your other cards on field and this guy, it's usually a pretty good board. And this deck is really good at actually playing past turn 1. Like if you set up a board turn 1, and even if it gets broken, you can still easily just bounce back turn 2. And that's what I love about this deck, is I kind of built it to be more resource heavy. But it's more of a balance. So it's like it's got a good combo and resource game, and I really enjoy the playstyle of it. So next up here, we do have an Naturia Barkion. This goes along with our Earth Hex Sealed Fusion, so there's kind of a little bit of foreshadowing there for you. But the hilarious thing about this guy is that he negates trap effects, so he can negate an imperm if your opponent tries to slap it down on you, say like before you get Needle Fiber combo. I think it's just hilarious that he can do that. And of course, you know, it's one of our targets for what's coming up here. So, and last for the Synchros, we do have the Ravenous Crocodragon Archithus. I know a lot of people are already going to know where that's going and are not going to be happy at me for it, but I'm playing it nonetheless because of obviously the combo that you guys know is coming up, and I think it's hilarious. It's so easy for this deck to just make it naturally that like it's honestly just perfect. So that is it for our Synchros. Let's go ahead and move on to the links. So of course, one Link Cross as you guys expected, one Helki Fibrax as you expected, and one Nightmare Unicorn, just a good Link 3 to be able to bounce opponent's card back to the deck if you can't get it at any of your other bounce options, or you really need to get rid of a very problematic card. And last 2 links here, we have the one Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax, just for later gameplays if we need something to go into the next turn with, if we need a backup plan. And then an Apollosa if we end up getting enough materials going first. So all really good cards. That's all the links we need for this deck though, because like really the rest of our monsters take care of everything for us. Honestly, with this deck, basically everything is just link summoning. Like everything's so generic, it's so easy to summon that it's all basically just like link summoning. So that's it for our actual link monsters. Now we'll move on to the 2 fusion cards. So first off, of course, Trishula, the Dragon of the Ice Barrier, or Icy Imprisonment. Obviously, you guys had to have seen this coming after seeing the Crocodragon, because you know exactly where this is going. And for our last fusion target here is actually what the Earth Hex Sealed Fusion tech is for, and that is our Naturia Exterio, and that I think is like my favorite spicy tech for this deck that I have come up with, because it is so easy with that Earth Hex Sealed Fusion. It's a rock monster, so if you excavate it, you can special summon it, and it's so easy to summon that Naturia Barkion, because it's a level 6 synchro that just requires Earth tuners, which your Adamancipator tuners are Earth, and the rock monsters are Earth as well, except for the crystals. And so you can just go into the Naturia Barkion, and if you excavate the Earth Hex Sealed Fusion, you can use that with your Barkion to go into your Exterio, using the Earth Hex Sealed Fusion as your Naturia Beast target, which is honestly just super awesome. Being able to have a spell and trap negate that just requires you to banish one card from your graveyard and then dump another into the graveyard, which can actually help you out, is just super insane. I love this card, and it's absolutely hilarious when you can combo this with the Borreload Savage, because you just save this guy for your spell and trap negates, and then your Borreload Savage for monsters. And it's hilarious. And if you somehow have it like this in an Apollousa, that's just, it's game. Like, if you have like 2 or 3 monster negates on the Apollousa and then this guy for spell and trap negates, it's just game. Like, it's just done. So that's it for our fusions. Once again, they're basically just like Link monsters because they're so easy to bring out. And of course, can't play a rock deck without a copy of Gallant Granite. Just easy rank 4 search for rock, whatever rock you're missing for Adamancipator names. Special summon it out, get your Excavates, Needle Fiber combo, do whatever you need to. Gallant Granite's just insane. And True King of All Calamities, this card needs to be banned. It's just so easy to go Crocodragon into, and then pull out your Trish. In this deck, like, you don't need the whole Auroradon, Martial Metamarja combo. Obviously, that makes it really, really consistent, but I have not found it at all to be a problem with this deck. I can open up just, like, several different hands with this deck and be able to go into my True King of All Calamities. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So, like, if you get a True King and a Naturia Exterio, it's absolutely just hilarious, of course. Or if you do the Borreload Savage to negate, like, say, if they do a Forbidden Droplets, but for some reason they don't dump a monster, it's just, yeah, like, they're screwed. So I absolutely love this deck. I have a lot of fun with it. So like I said, if you guys want to see that combo tutorial or test hands, let me know down in the comments and by hitting that like button so I know you guys enjoyed the video and just enjoyed the deck profile overall. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in today. I really love all your support. You've been super killing it with this channel, and I'm so glad to see how far we've already grown. You guys are like truly the best community I've ever encountered, and I love each and every single one of you. So please stay awesome. Remember to have fun and make your move. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
I'm a love giver.